In the last lectures, we successfully added our off screen. That's a great first step. Now let's also make sure we can leave that. I'll implement the actual authentication functionality later. For now, I want to focus on the navigation part. So on this screen, let me now simply implement a button where we can basically log in, and then let's simply fake that we did successfully log in. So let's add a button here, self-closing tag, and let's set the title maybe to log in. Now I'll also add the on press listener, and on pressing this, I want to log in. So here I'll name this login handler. It's this method I want to execute once we did actually log in, or once we did click this button for the moment. And now the question is here, how do we continue? How do we get to a different screen? Well, first of all, we need a different screen. And there I actually want to use a tab, so a tab-based screen. Now, there are different ways you can set this up. I'm going to add a new folder here to my screens folder. And I'm going to name it main tabs because it's basically the main part of my application. And in there, I'm going to add a file which is called start main tabs. And it's deliberately written like this with a lowercase s at the beginning because this will not hold a React component. Instead here, I will run some code from React Native Navigation, so let's import something from there, to start a tab-based app. And that's what I meant. Start something app sounds like it starts a new app. It simply resets the navigation approach React Native currently uses, you could say. So here I'll again import navigation from React Native Navigation. And now I want to load some tabs. Now to load tabs, we need screens between we can tab around. So let's add two new screens here, let's say. Let's add one screen, which we name share place, which allows us to share a place. So this will no longer be on the same screen as the list of places, because that will be our second tab. I'll add a find place tab, where we can see a list of all places that have been shared. So with that, let's work on both, and I'll simply create normal class-based components here. So import from React, and then simply create the share place screen here, which extends component. Make sure to export this as the default. And of course, this should have a render method where we return some JSX. And I'm also going to import something to display here. So import a view and a text maybe from React Native Navigation. And then here, I'm going to render my view. So here we're in the share place screen. So I'm going to output this on share place screen. Let's close the text. And I'm going to save this and then copy the entire content of this file and paste it into find place. Just rename this here to find place in all occurrences. And we're done. With that, well, tiny error. We of course should import our components here from React Native, not React Native Navigation. So that is something which we need to fix. But with that, I got these screens set up. We can now work on the tab, start main tab file again. If we have a look at the documentation, we see there is this start tab based command we can execute. So we can run navigation start tab based app. And it's an alternative to the single screen app. The tab based app automatically renders you this tab bar and so on. So for this, you see how you can configure it. You pass a JavaScript object where you need to have a tabs property, which is an array of all the tabs you use. And you can add as many as you need. Well, at some point it's probably going to look ugly, but you can add multiple tabs here. That's the thing I want you to take away. A tab then is just a JavaScript object with these options. Most of them are optional, by the way, so you don't have to set them. Let's add here a tab here. A configuration you have to set is the screen. So which screen should be loaded when this tab is pressed. And this whole the tab was pressed, do something stuff will automatically be handled by React Native Navigation. Now to load a screen, we need a unique identifier, and for that we need to register the component first. We could do this in this file, but it's a good approach to do this all in the app.js file here to have a good overview over which screens we are aware of. So let's execute register component here, awesome places dot, and then the share place screen. That could be our unique identifier for the share place screen. Now we also need to import this share place screen from /source screens share place, and also import find place screen from /source screens and then find place. So for the share place screen, which we just set up, the second argument is our generator function, which returns the share place screen. And then I'm just going to duplicate this and replace share place screen here with find place screen. So now we registered these two new screens. We registered them in the app component, but we can use them anywhere in the app. That's the cool thing. So we can also use them in the start main tabs file here. So here the screen I want to load is awesome places dot, and now let's say it's the find place screen. So this unique identifier we assigned here, awesome places, find place screen. Let me copy it in to avoid any typos. So that's one kind of configuration we have to set. All the other ones are basically optional, but I also want to set two other configurations here. I want to set a label, which is find place, and a title, which is also find place. The table appears on the tab, the title appears in the nav bar at the top. Then I'm going to duplicate this and add it as a second argument or element in this array of tabs. Here I'm going to use the share place screen, and please note that you don't need to import these screens in the start main tab.js file. We just need to use the unique identifiers of the screens we registered earlier. And then here I'm going to say share place and share place. And of course these strings could be different. With that, we got our navigation start tab based command here. It would now run whenever we import start main tabs. Now that's not exactly what I want. Instead, I want to export a function which I can run whenever I want to then run this command. So I will actually create a function here, and I'll name it start tabs. The name is up to you. It's an arrow function. Could be a normal JavaScript function too though. And I'm just going to cut all the code and put it inside of this function body. Now I can export this as my default in this file. And whenever I execute this function, we execute this code. So then React Native Navigation will replace the current app, the current navigation approach, with this one. So that's the idea. It should do that whenever we click the button in our auth component, whenever we click the login button. So let's simply import start main tabs maybe from, and now we just go to the main tabs folder and there the start main tabs file. We want to do this when this button is pressed. So here I will then execute start main tabs. Make sure to save all files and reload your app to make sure it has the latest version of your code. Let me turn on live reload here. And now if you click log in, indeed you see we got tabs at the bottom and I can switch between them, and you see that the title and the content on the screen changes and the text also changes its color. Now on Android, if we click login, we see that we got no icons defined because for Android we actually need icons. The good thing is, in the last module, we already added a package which gives us some icons. So let me show you how to add icons to this approach in the next lecture.